Welcome to Intersections. Today I have a very pleasant young lady by the name of Megan Andrews with me. Megan is a young adult here at St. John's Citadel. She's been here since infancy. She's currently at Memorial University, where she is in the Bachelor of Arts program, and her major is in English. We're going to learn a little bit more about Megan and a little bit about how faith interacts in her life in just a few moments. But lots to be said about how faith works in the life of a young person, and that's really something we want to get at today. So as I said, you've been around here forever,
Yes.
and you cut your teeth here.
I did.
Pretty well, literally. Eh? And present day, you are attending Memorial University of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yep.
And you are in the Bachelor of Arts program as English as a major.
I am.
Okay. Well, hopefully a little later on we'll learn a bit more about what that's going to connect to as you pursue life and take it from there. But for the moment, back to St. John's Citadel and your years here. Can you talk a little bit about your childhood at the Citadel? The various programs you may have filtered through, the early in seed planting of faith concepts, and how that impacted you, and how it stuck with you, and that kind of stuff.
Sure thing.
Please.
So the earliest memories I have of coming to the church actually stem all the way back to VBS. So my mom and Bernice Langdon have been kind of doing VBS for pretty much since my entire existence. I remember my mom always telling me the story of how, like, for the first ever VBS, I was technically there because she was pregnant with me at the time. But I've been going to that ever since I was a baby, basically, and I haven't, with the exception of 2020, I haven't missed a year, and even now I like to help out with that. So that's really where I started to be here kind of year round. But growing up, I was a big part of the different things that the children could participate in. So like YP band or the singing company have always been like really solid concepts in my life.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Excellent. All right. So you moved through all of that stuff, and back in those early years of life, the parents kind of set that tone, right? And this is important, and you need to do this, and all of that. And so you toddle along, and you do it. But there comes a point along the way where it has to become yours, right? And so we'll come to that very shortly. And this will give the segue into it. Your school years obviously paralleled your growing up years as a toddler, and then a young child, and then on into adolescence, and then into high school. And high school for you was at Holy Trinity High School in Torbay, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the adolescent years can be topsy-turvy for some folks. What were your adolescent years like? Were they topsy-turvy? If so, how come? And if they weren't topsy-turvy, how come? And what role did you see, in looking back at them now, do you see the Citadel activities, faith, playing a role for you?
So my adolescent years, I was very fortunate to have like a very good upbringing, both in my house and alongside with my friends at school and stuff. There were some issues that I had personally, kind of with my own mental health, and I found that the structure that the church provided in those years, trying to figure out how everything was playing out, was something very solid and very current, like very always there, always something that I could rely on. So while my friends were very, very helpful with those kind of things, and maybe not have the same beliefs as me or whatever, I always found that coming to the church, no matter it be for band practice, actually for church on Sundays, it was always a place where I could find that I could ground myself. So through all of that growing up, a lot of the things that helped me to become the person I am today was founded through the church and relying on my faith and knowing that everything was going to be okay.
Okay, good. And just as we mature physically, we mature emotionally, and we mature spiritually. So here you are now, a young adult, or well, maybe you're an adult, but you're passed through those turbulent years. You've set a course for yourself,
Yes.
Insofar as one can do that. So where, like I observe you participate in the Salvation Army Band here, so where does that lead you now as you've matured? Your faith matures. So where are you at this stage?
So I have been in the senior band now. I did the youth band growing up since I was like 7 years old. But I've been in the senior band now for almost 7 years, I think it is. 6, 7 years. I think it was.
Showed up when you were 14?
Yeah, I was 14, 15, and now I turned 21 this year. So it's been almost 6, 7 years. But for me, as much as band practice is about, showing up for band and playing in the band on Sunday, as you do as part of the band, for me, I love going to band practice on Wednesday night. And it wouldn't be easy to say that sometimes there's moments where ugh, I don't want to go to band practice. It's a Wednesday night, I have so much to do, school is crazy, whatever. But for me, band practice is always one of the highlights of my week. It is the place where I feel the most comfortable in my own skin. And I use band practice and the music that we play to really connect with my faith. I mostly connect to my faith through music. And it happens a lot in band and when I play in the band, because when I play, I can feel the presence of whatever needs to be around, and I feel that through the music, not necessarily lyrics or anything, but just I like to sit there with my eyes closed and really feel what's happening. That's mostly where.
For most folks who play in a Salvation Army band, there are really significant pieces of music of the thousands that have been composed. Is there one or two for you that mean something really special?
The biggest one for me is probably My Jesus, I Love Thee. I've played that one multiple times, different arrangements. I remember one significant time that we played it was a couple years ago at band retreat. We had the composer of the piece, he was actually directing us, and that was a moment for me where I was sitting there and I was really very present. And it's carried on. It's been 4 or 5 years now since we've played that, and it's still one of my favorite pieces to this day.
Absolutely. Yeah, really, really nice. Well, there are several arrangements of that, but all of them are lovely, and it has something to speak to you about. There's no question. So good, thank you. Talk to me a little bit about, you've been all around church. You've grown up with parents who were always around church, but because faith is so personal, when did you make that conscious, personal, adult decision for yourself that this had to be a part of your life going forward?
So when I was 14,
Yeah.
like most of us, we make the decision. Obviously, when you're young, you get enrolled as like a junior soldier, and it's like this big thing when you're 7 years old. And when you're that young, yeah, you do it, but you don't really know what it really means until you get older, and you're like, oh my goodness, like this is actually something that has weight to it. It's significant. When I was 14, I remember having a conversation with my parents on whether or not I wanted to be enrolled as a senior soldier.
Yes.
And whether or not I wanted to go that route or not with my life. And my whole family has been a part of the Army since, many, many years now. And when they asked me, when they say, okay, you're turning 14 this year, is this something that you wanted to do? Like, it's totally up to you. You don't have to choose this. for me, there was kind of like no question. It was like, this is the way I've been raised for 14 years, and it's been so good for me. And I decided that that was something that I wanted to continue with my entire life. And I feel like that's the moment where I made kind of like my first grown-up decision of like, this is the way I want to lead my life, and that's that. Like, it was there was no real like decision for me. It felt right.
Okay, and fair enough. That said, I think you will acknowledge, as we all will, that you're not on the top shelf spiritually every day. We all aren't, right? There are things that come at us, and we ride the wave, right? But there is the hope is that there would be some basis, some sustaining something that in the rough times keeps you grounded, and till you can pass through that patch and then look back and see, you know, well, it was okay. I'm still okay. And, you know, while I may have questions, I may have doubts, I still see this as something I want to hold on to going forward. And from what you're saying, I'm picking that piece up.
Right.
I'm correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, you're at MUN.
I am.
You're an English major.
Yes.
As far as any of us can tell the future,
Yes.
what are the hopes and the dreams?
So my end goal is hopefully to achieve my undergrad. Right now I'm doing English and I'm minoring in geography, which are 2 teachable subjects. Hopefully my goal is to go into education for intermediate secondary, which is high school level. And then through that, there's a program that I can do, hopefully, they're reworking it right now, that will lead me into guidance counseling for that age. And that is kind of my end goal right now. That's where I see myself and where I feel like I can be my best self.
Okay, so you're headed for a career in education.
Yes.
Not that you've been around anybody who did that.
No, not at all.
No. Your mom has completed her career in education.
Yeah.
Guidance.
Yes.
Why guidance?
Interesting question. Going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about having a little bit of a turbulent teenage year with my mental health, I wouldn't say a lot of time, but whenever I needed it, I spent some time in the guidance counselor's office. And I had the most amazing guidance counselor who helped me get through the things I needed to get through. And she very much inspired me to I was like, I can be good at this. This is something that I would love to do myself, because I tend to do kind of like the guidance counselor role amongst my friends a little bit, because I know what it's like to struggle a little bit. So having that part of me as a person, and then having someone who is so inspirational like my guidance counselor, I came to the conclusion that this is something that I could be super, super good at, and something that I know that I would love to do.
There's an old chorus we used to sing in the Salvation Army. You don't sing it very much anymore. Mm-hmm. But as you're speaking, it comes to my mind, just where he needs me, my Lord has placed me. Mm-hmm. And my prayer for you is that you'll experience that as you look forward to the next phase and phases of your life. And I want to say thank you very much for joining me here today and doing this, because I'm sure that there are people out there who need to hear the kinds of things that you've shared with us today. So thank you very much, Megan.
Thank you for having me.